You can participants who are joining us from the YouTube, they'll get the link soon. Now I'll take you through a few features on the Zoom that you can use to have an engaging and a productive session. Here, this is the mic button. You can click this to keep yourself muted. Unmute only if the speaker asks you to. This is the video button. You can switch on and off your video with. You can share your questions and thoughts in the chat window. I'll be here to curate your questions and share them with our speakers. Participants who are joining us on the YouTube can share their comments in the comment section that will be shared with the speaker on the Zoom soon. Welcome to the webinar. We are here. I am Vani and I have a co-host Navya. We will be your guide for this webinar to help you navigate through it. We now come to the introduction of our speakers today. So we have two speakers. The first one, Stuti Jhaveri. She is an aspiring counseling psychologist. She's the director of psychology and research team at Use of the Mind. She's currently a postgraduate student in the final year of her master's in psychology program. She has previously worked with schools to improve children's mental health. She is passionate about guiding people through life challenges through therapy. The second speaker we have is Rushita Murali. She is the Vice Executive Director at Use of the Mind Mental Wellbeing Foundation. Rushita is a 21-year-old environmentalist, author, and spokesperson with the vast experiences in the field of mental health advocacy, sustainable development advocacy, and research and development. With a potential career in environmental scientific research and intersectional environmentalism, Rushita aims to incorporate the steps required to build a better world at the grassroots of our society. I am super excited for the learning experiences that they are going to create. Looking forward for it. Before we move forward, a little about Use of the Mind Foundation. It is a non-profit organization that aims to make mental health resources more accessible, affordable, and available. It is youth-focused and youth-led and is a UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network youth member. They are a Dyna Legacy awardee and are the youngest team to be awarded for the former Health Secretary of India at the IHW Awards. With over 200 plus members over the year, they have collaborated with 200 plus organizations, including schools, colleges, corporations, NGOs, and more to raise awareness about the mental well-being. Their team has created safe sharing spaces and delivered educational workshops to over 50,000 beneficiaries across the globe, raising awareness through social media, reaching more than 1.4 million viewers in the past 4 years. Super excited for both of our speakers. As we move to the webinar, I have a few requests of our participants as well. Some of the norms. We request you to keep your cameras on for the effective interaction. To avoid disturbance, we request you to keep your mics off unless speakers ask to unmute. Use the chat box to ask questions and share. Participate enthusiastically throughout the session. Moving forward with the session objectives, in this session, we are going to cover 3 main objectives. This webinar, we will understand the distinction between the stress and the anxiety and their impact on mental health. We are going to identify the personal triggers and signs of the stress and anxiety through introspection and self-awareness exercises. Receive access to the Use of You Wellbeing Kit containing resources and reminders to support ongoing self-care practices. Thank you. Hope you have an interesting evening. I am super excited for this. Over to the speakers now.
Great. Thank you all so much. First of all, hello everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I believe Stuti is also on the way to join this call, and we're very excited for this. We hope you're all doing well. Just before we begin, I'll ask the team to share screen. Perfect timing. Thank you so much. So the name of this webinar is Navigating Stress and Anxiety. cultivating resilience and well-being in the workplace, especially in the educational workplace. So, before we begin, I'd like to introduce Use of the Mind. Of course, Firki did a very good job introducing us. I can't say much more about that, but I'd like to say that we founded Use of the Mind to have more conversations about mental health at the grassroots. And we wanted to create a space for people to express how they really feel and who they really are. So, with that in mind, we'd like to move to the next slide. Yes. So, the flow of the workshop is just to help us understand what we're in here for. So, we'll first off, no, just the previous slide, please. Yes. So we'll, of course, exchange introductions. I'm really happy that a lot of you shared your introductions over here. We'll also set expectations as Team Firki already did, but we'd also like to share a few of our expectations and love to learn more about your expectations. And we'd like to conduct a little activity called What is the Hue of Your Mind, which is what we'll do foremost. And then we'll move into the rest of the material, which is defining stress and anxiety through a story, doing a few activities, understanding strategies to cope with stress and anxiety, conduct a journaling activity, and of course, we'll share two of our very beloved resources, which is our illustrated tabletop book, Here's a Few, and our workplace well-being kit. This will be a part of the wellness action plan that we have. So that's the flow of the workshop. And yes, we'd like to move to the next slide, please. Perfect. So this is something that at Use of the Mind we hold very close to our hearts. It's what is the hue of your mind? It's basically just asking ourselves, how am I really feeling right now? If my mind or the emotions I was feeling were to portray a color, what would the color be and what would it signify? So, for example, I'm feeling sky blue because I'm hopeful of everything that's coming and I'm really excited for this workshop. And to me personally, sky blue signifies peace, excitedness, and excitement, and a lot more. So please feel free to share by unmuting or by writing in the chat box as well. Any color and what it signifies for you. That is wonderful. I'm loving the responses so far. That's great. Thank you all so much. If you'd like to share anything along these lines, if you want to take the space to talk about something, the stage is yours. Please feel free to do so. That's great. Purple is my favorite color as well. Wonderful. Amazing. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. And yes, we love the engagement. We're very happy you're here and you're actively participating. With this, we'd like to maintain this emotion of happiness, excitement, contentment, and move into our expectations for the workshop. Could we please go to the next slide? Great. So, the purpose of setting expectations is that for the next hour, we're all going to have a conversation. And of course, it won't be a one-way conversation. We'd want you to express your emotions and talk to us as well. So here are some of our expectations from Use of the Mind. So the first is, of course, to be comfortable and make sure you're sitting or laying down comfortably. And the second would be to keep any distractions, such as your phone or any other devices, away, so that everyone's in their space right now and able to focus on what's being said. Then there's also the expectation to carry a pen or a pencil and a notebook, and if possible, some colors with you for the activities that we'll be taking up. And then there's also that this entire meeting is a safe space. So we'd ask you to respect that. By safe space, we mean a non-judgmental space where everybody can express what they feel and who they are. That's what Use of the Mind stands for as well. And of course, we hope this entire experience is insightful, but it's also helping you have some fun with your work, with what you're going through, and just understand your emotions a little better. So that's our expectations. And with that, we'd like to start off with the uh, session. Before we do that, would you any of you like to share any expectations that you have? What you expect from this workshop, from the webinar? We'd like to address that as well. Yes, Ms. Pratibha, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for this great opportunity. Actually, being a teacher, like right now, my expectation from the webinar is that end of the session, I'll know how to calm down myself. I'll get to understand some exercises or some tools which will really empower me to keep myself balanced, align myself, and be ready for the next day. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. We'll try our best to meet your expectations as well. We do have a lot of insights that we can share, so we hope that helps. Practical ways to deal with stress, overthinking, and anxiety. Definitely, we will be focusing on stress and anxiety for this webinar, but we can also share some resources related to what overthinking is a symptom of and how that can be, I won't say treated, just helped along. And yes, in terms of helping students access professional help that professors or teachers can't provide themselves, we will also be sharing a few resources that facilitate anonymity and help individuals have a sense of security in that sense. How to calm down, unplanned days, bringing stress, maintaining mindfulness. Thank you so much for bringing that up. All of these points we will be covering and helping our students with anxiety and stress. Okay. And of course, the resources that we share are aids to helping get professional help. It's not, of course, to replace therapy or any form of counseling of any sort. Guide us to calm students down when they are in stress. Uh, sure, we can definitely dive into that in the Q&A session, but we won't be covering that in the main section of the webinar. We'll definitely discuss this in the last segment of the webinar. Wonderful. So let's get started. Just 1 second. So to talk about stress versus anxiety. So what do you think is the difference between stress and anxiety? If anybody wants to speak up.
Hi, it's Himanshi this side. I personally feel stress is uh, something which is on temporary basis, which can be dealt with, right? But anxiety is something which needs proper care. It's an issue which a person might be dealing with since some time, over some time now. So it's more, I think, a grave one, a serious one.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Am I
evening.
on?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, for me, stress is a sort of pressure and anxiety is a sort of panic.
Correct. Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anxiety
Hello.
is the,
Hello, ma'am.
yes,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Anxiety is a kind of fear, and stress is, yes, the pressure.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing. Wonderful. We also have some responses in the chat, and I'm
Good
really
evening,
happy
ma'am.
to know. Yes, please go ahead.
Sonia Gupta from Saint Kabir School. Ma'am, anxiety I feel is for which we don't have any reason for the fear. Stress, we know
Absolutely.
what for the
Yes,
stress is, but for anxiety, we don't know what the fear is for.
definitely. For anxiety, a lot of the times it is it just creeps up on us. It's not something that builds up over time. So, yes, just to double down on that, when was the last time any of you felt stressed or anxious about something? We know that it's summer break going on right now, but it can just creep up on us at any time. So, would anybody like to share an instance of that sort?
Yes, when board
Hello.
results, when we were supposed to receive the board results. So as a principal, I was under stress also, and there was anxiety and lot of pressure.
Absolutely. We completely understand. Thank you so much for sharing.
Good evening, everyone. Ma'am, this is Lakshmi Sunita, working as a school assistant in physical science in a government high school of Andhra Pradesh. Is the last time which I faced stress is, of course, the board exams, because I deal with physics subject, which is so hard. And that too for government students who are academically and even educationally, they are backward, as their parents are not that much. So we had to put so much pressure to make them. And by God's grace, we got only 2 members failed out of 89 students who attended the board exams. That's the
That
time
is
when I last
wonderful.
faced the stress. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, Mr. Farhan, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'll just share my personal experience. Last year, I just completed my MBA from Ali Muslim University, and after that, all of my friends were getting placed in some MNCs or some different corporates, and I was just waiting for the right time so that I can pursue the type of career which I wanted to do in my life. And then I get for some interviews, and I put up some recruitment fest also. I was being a part of some recruitment fest also, and at that time I was giving interview on a weekly basis, but I was not getting a satisfied result with that, and I was got so much stressed with the result, and I don't know that, and at that time I wasn't able to manage that anxiety and stress. But as soon as I got placed in a particular organization, after that I realized that that stress was not something which I can control on my own, because these are the result oriented stress which I was handling at that time. So once I got the result which I was expecting, my stress was going in a day or two only. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, Ms. Kramata, would you like to go ahead? I'm sorry, I don't think we can hear you. Could you please check your mic? No worries. Thank you so much. You can also write in the chat box. We'll definitely be reading everything as well. Someone said poll outcome elections 2024. That is also a stressful point in time. Definitely. It's a very common pressure stress, which sometimes you might figure out ways to deal with. Heightened form of stress is anxiety. It's a clinical condition that mostly needs some sort of external support. I agree, but I also think that stress and anxiety are equally pressing issues, and we should be able to address both in the appropriate manner. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for the responses. Just to sum everything up, I'd say that people under stress experience mental and physical symptoms such as maybe irritability, anger, fatigue, muscle pain, sometimes digestive troubles as well, and difficulty sleeping. A lot of these symptoms, as you can see, are transformed into the physical being. It's not just mental anymore. So that's also something that happens with stress, which is why I would again emphasize that dealing with stress is also really important for the mental and physical well-being. And anxiety, on the other hand, is defined by persistent or excessive worries that don't go away even in the absence of an external stressor or a stress inhibitor, something that causes stress. So to explain this better, let's go through an example. And let's imagine we're preparing a parent-teacher meeting, and there's this burst of energy that you feel to get everything organized, but you can relax after the event. This is stress. However, imagine just constantly working and worrying about upcoming conferences, even during breaks, when we're supposed to have time off for ourselves, and picturing the worst case scenarios and feeling overwhelmed, even when we don't consciously want to, our subconscious does that to us. And it's not just for a few hours, but it can go on for days, weeks, or even months together. And this excessive worrying hampers our daily functioning so much that we feel nervous, restless, and tense. We have an increased heart rate sometimes, again, a physiological symptom. Then there's also hyperventilation, or something that we can call breathing very rapidly, going out of breath very quickly, even though you're sitting idle. Then there's also a symptom that you can sweat and tremble a lot. And there's also a general tiredness of feeling weak. So that's something. And lastly, there's also having trouble concentrating on a task or thinking about anything other than what's actually the root cause of your anxiety. So all of this is about anxiety. Again, stress isn't always bad. Stress can be positive as well as negative. Positive stress, or eustress as we call it, motivates us and helps us perform our very best. As educators, I'm sure all of us have encountered stress and use stress to be specific. So, for example, when we develop a creative lesson plan, the challenge of creating an engaging lesson can be energizing and can lead us to a sense of accomplishment when we see that our students are responding energetically to the lesson and they're excited to learn. Now, considering a different scenario, maybe you're assigned a topic that you have no prior knowledge or any interest in. The pressure to create a compelling lesson plan for this can lead to distress, which is negative stress. When stress becomes overwhelming and persistent, it turns into distress, again, negative stress. And it can cause wear and tear of the body, and it's just very harmful in that sense. So, again, I'm pretty sure all of us have experienced some kind of stress. Thank you all for sharing that as well in the beginning. And, maybe today, this week, or in the past month as well. And we're looking for ways to cope. We have a few tips and activities to help you out with the same. So I'm so sorry, I believe we skipped a slide in the beginning. Could you please move to the next slide? Yes, so this is about anxiety versus stress. And speaking of activities, we'll start off with a breathing technique. I'll walk us all through these steps. We can use these techniques to de-stress and wind down at any time. Yes. So if you're uncomfortable at any point, please feel free to stop the activity. If you wish to keep your eyes open during the activity, that's also fine. We recommend keeping your eyes closed, but it's our personal preferences and we are in our own safe spaces here. So please feel free to not close your eyes, keep your eyes open as well. And it's up to you to keep your cameras on or off for this activity. It's totally up to you. So once everyone's ready, please put up a thumbs up reaction emoji and we'll begin. Wonderful. Mani, should we begin? Okay, perfect. So, again, the first step is to find a comfortable sitting or lying position. If you wish to lie down and keep your camera off, that's also completely fine. Please feel free to do so. And please just follow along. If you wish to, please close your eyes and relax your body. Like consciously just shake everything off and relax. Stretch if you wish to, if that helps. And yes, perfect. So relax your body and let's start with a slow, deep inhale. Please hold your breath now and exhale. Again, inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, hold, and exhale. If you're open to it, if you wish to continue, please go ahead. Otherwise, you can also stop. Inhale, hold, exhale. One last time, I promise. Inhale, hold, exhale. Perfect. Thank you all so much for bearing with me for this exercise. If you have your eyes closed, please open them slowly. And please let us know how you're feeling. You can also use a reaction emoji. You can type in the chat. We love to hear how you're feeling now. Amazing. Great. I love seeing the words calm, relaxed, refreshing. That was the goal, to just relax and be our own self, be at peace in the current moment. Thank you so much for taking part in this activity. Uh, And then, of course, just to give you a small brief about this activity, the purpose of conducting this was that it can help activate our body's relaxation response. It helps us calm down in a sense. It provides a sense of calm and stress relief. So anytime something just gets very stressful, please try and take this up. I'll just type it in the chat as well, that it's inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, and exhale for 8 counts. Do this as many times as you'd like, and we can, until you feel like, okay, I'm ready to get back to work and get back into the routine. This is called the, just mention that as well, 4-7-8 breathing exercise. Sorry, just 1 second. Yes. So this is the entire exercise. Please feel free to use this as many times as you'd like, even during the webinar afterwards, anytime at all. Great. So coming back to our activities, we have another activity planned if all of you are open to that. Or we can take a break, we can rest for 5 minutes and then come back to this. Anything that works.
Prishita, I think we can go ahead.
Wonderful.
We are
Yay,
already.
that's amazing. Even people in the chat box are saying next activity. I'm so glad to see this response. Wonderful. So for this activity, it's called the Feel Good Heart activity, and I promise it's as wholesome as it sounds. So for this activity, we request you to take a piece of paper, a notebook, anything of that sort, and a pen or a pencil. And if you have access, any colors or color pencils, anything of that sort. And please share the thumbs up emoji once you have it so we can start. Yes, it's completely okay if you don't have access to colors. It's all a medium to express ourselves. You can also use a normal pen, pencil, and a paper. Perfect. Thank you all so much. We'll begin now. So just to make sure that we have everything in place, please try to draw a heart on the paper that's big enough to cover the entire sheet or the page, because we're expected to draw within or write within that. So please make sure it's big enough for you to write inside. And again, once you're done, please send in the emoji. Wonderful. I mean, you guys are really fast. I love this. Thank you so much. So again, just taking a brief moment to just look at what you've done. And this is an image of your heart, basically. So anything that's in your heart, I'll send in some prompts in the chat as well. To take a moment, the first is to take a moment and reflect on the things that make you happy and your heart happy, to be specific. And then there would be just take a moment, think about what makes you happy. And if you want to write it down, if you want to doodle it inside some corner of the heart, in the center of the heart, anything that's fine. Thank you, Mani. Thank you, Suki. Great. So once you've taken that reflective moment, try and doodle something along those lines or write something if that is what motivates you to do that. I'll also share the prompts here so you can do this at your own pace. There's no rush at all. The second prompt is that think about what makes you feel good. What words would you describe, or any colors if you have access, would you use to describe these feelings or things? And the third prompt is which images and colors come to your mind. If you don't have access to colors, you can also just write the names of the colors. That is also fine because this is your art piece for yourself. And of course, if you'd like to share it with us, we'd be happy to see your pages as well. So we'll take a few minutes to just work on this. And meanwhile, Navya, can we show the next slide just to give an example of what that art can look like? This is not a template of any kind. Please feel free to use your creative imagination. But this is what it usually we're looking into. That is wonderful. That's exactly what we want. For students to feel like they can express themselves, and this is what their heart is full of. And it'll be very wholesome to look at what kids want to express as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd actually recommend this for every educator as well. Please feel free to share a thumbs up if you're done, or if you want to take some time as well. Like if you want to take some time, let us know. And if you're done, just send a thumbs up. We're so glad we could help. Great. We can wait for a few more responses, of course, and then we'll start. Don't want to rush anybody. Please feel free to continue this even if we conclude this segment. The entire webinar is being recorded, so you'll always be able to look through the content that is being showed over here.
Going to school, go to take a glass.
Great. I think we can begin. Please don't worry if you're still working on this. Please feel free to continue. We'll just be moving into the next segment, which is some strategies to cope with stress and anxiety. Can we please move to the next slide?
Just a second.
Sure. Thank you all so much for the positive feedback. We really appreciate it. And we're glad this can help you as well. This is one of the reasons why this is personally my favorite activity, because it's just so creative in nature. Wonderful. So talking about coping with stress and anxiety, we've experienced stress and anxiety at some point in our lives, but we can manage them. It's not just something that's unmanageable. I can never recover from this. It's always manageable, and we can explore some strategies for this as well. Look, can we please stay on the previous slide? So the first aspect of this is time management, where the first thing I'd like to talk about under time management is that planning is key. So talking about, yes, thank you so much for the outline, Stati. So these are the three parts I'll talk about under time management. The first is planning is key. So blocking out dedicated time for activities such as lesson planning, grading, and responding to emails. We can also utilize online calendars and scheduling tools such as Google Calendar or Trello, if anyone's aware of that, to create a daily and weekly schedule very clearly, in a very organized manner. The second aspect is chunk it up. What do I mean by that? So it means breaking down seemingly larger tasks. For example, grading 150 tests into smaller, more manageable chunks. 15 tests now, 15 tests after 2 hours, something like that, for 10 times. That seems much less impending on us. So this can help us this can help prevent us from feeling overwhelmed, and you make our lessons more engaging for our students as well. And the third aspect is utilizing asynchronous learning. So consider incorporating asynchronous, which is something other than the ordinary learning activities, such as pre-recorded lectures or discussion forums, online or offline in class, during these synchronous sessions as well, for better interaction and more clarification during classes. Urgent and important categorizing is also important. Thank you so much for that. Wonderful. Another subset I'd like to talk about is boundary setting. So under this, we're all individuals. Before educators, before anything else, we're all individuals. We need to make sure that our time is valued and we're not taken for granted in any sense. So it is important to set some boundaries with anybody of that sort in the education institution. So the first thing would be office hours, as Stuti has mentioned in the chat as well. Establishing clear office hours and communicating them to our colleagues and family in general helps us manage expectations, and it allows us to dedicate focused time to answering questions and providing more support. The second aspect is turning off notifications. Now, this is another aspect of boundary setting, where during your hours out of office, mute notifications like entirely from work emails and communication platforms. Why I recommend this seemingly extreme measure is that when we don't do that, when we feel that, oh, my students might require my help at some point, you will get calls at 3 a.m. and that will hamper your well-being. So if you're not able to take care of yourself, how would you be able to help others? That is the main reason why I'm stressing so much on this seemingly extreme measure. This helps create a clear separation between work and personal life. It allows us to recharge in our own time and space, and then avoid burnout while we're working in our office hours as well. Wonderful. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Then there's also the do not disturb mode. This is virtual as well as in person. It's not just a feature on your phone or something like that. Please let colleagues or family members know that you're unavailable for this particular time, with colleagues, maybe for virtual meetings when you're at home or traveling somewhere else. Use also, of course, virtually, where we can use the do not disturb function on chosen platforms that are meant for work, such as work emails. So this can minimize distractions and help us focus on the task at hand, even if we're working on one aspect of a lesson plan and don't want to be disturbed about something else. This helps a lot because they know that you're working on something else and you require time for this specifically. This is one aspect. And one third function I'd like to talk about is counting steps to stop overthinking. Definitely. Great. So, cognitive reframing is another aspect. In simple words, this means challenging negative thoughts and replacing them with more positive and realistic perspectives. So, when we're talking about challenging negative thoughts, let's say you're delivering a lesson and it seems like nothing is really clicking with the students. They're all confused, participation is extremely low, and you're probably thinking, oh, this lesson is turning into a disaster. Reframe that almost instantaneously, consciously, because it doesn't happen on its own. We have to consciously reframe that, saying, this is a minor hiccup. I can move on from this, and maybe in the next class, I can do this much better, and I can engage them better. It's never. It always feels like the walls are closing in on us, but that's never the case. There's always another step to be taken, another solution for the problem. The second aspect is focus on progress. This is something a lot of educators, even my own professors, haven't done, which is celebrating the small victories in life. Did a student finally understand a concept that was difficult to explain? And did your class participate actively in a discussion that you didn't think would turn up and amount to much? And, it's just little moments that these that acknowledging them as moments of success builds on us and it improves our self confidence while delivering such talks as well. And the last aspect would be positive self talk. Positive affirmations such as, I am a capable educator and I can handle the challenges that come my way, are really important for our own well-being. It may sound a little cliche to just, praise yourself, but I'd highly recommend doing this early in the morning or just after coming up home from work, just looking into the mirror and practicing some affirmations towards ourselves. Because it's just that important to hype ourselves up, regardless of whether or not we receive praise from outside. We need to reassure ourselves that we are our loudest cheerleaders. And of course, we will be sharing a workplace well-being kit with you as well in our wellness action plan. And that also includes some affirmations that you can practice. Lastly, a simple bonus tip that I'd talk about is embracing flexibility. As we all know, things don't always go according to a plan in a virtual setting. Or right now as well, some of us may be having network issues, somebody's mic wasn't working. It's always a struggle online. Be prepared to adapt your lessons or activities on the fly. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. So these were a few tips about coping with stress and anxiety. Please don't worry, the whole session has been recorded and we also have the notes mentioned in the chat. So, everything will be covered and you can revisit this again. Moving ahead, we'll just to get a little reflective sense on what was discussed. Please grab a pen and paper and we'll start off another activity for journaling for stress relief. Because being aware of our needs is a crucial step towards feeling well. Please let us know with a thumbs up once you're ready with everything. Wonderful. I think we're ready. So again, we'll be sharing the prompts on the chat box, but I'll just talk about them once. So the first prompt is identify your biggest virtual classroom stressors. Think about what uh, stresses you out most when you're teaching a class virtually. Something, yeah, something related to maybe someone's network connection. Some students is misbehaving in the class and you're not sure what is to be done. Something like that that affects you in a virtual setting or a classroom. Network issues is a big deal. If you wish to express this, you can also write it down on the piece of paper and we can look at that as well. No, I don't mean to rush any of you at all. I'll just say the second prompt out loud in case it was lost in the chat box. How do you feel physically and emotionally when you're stressed? What are the emotions that you feel? Do any parts of your body hurt, or does your head hurt? Any parts of your head, are they affected by this? Do you feel very warm or very cold when you're stressed? To clarify, we're supposed to write down our answers for these prompts. I think we can share them once again, just to be clear. So these are some questions that are asked. You can feel free to write them in the chat box, and if you'd like, you can also write it on a piece of paper for you to review later on as well as something of your own. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for these answers. Just looking through them as well. Absolutely. This is something I stress upon myself as well. Stress as an emphasis upon myself as well, that physiological symptoms often accompany stress and anxiety a lot. And we can physically see something happening to us when we're stressed or when we're anxious. And again, I don't mean to rush any of you. What are some coping mechanisms that you will try based on what was, discussed in today's workshop? Anything that you'd like to take away and practice maybe a week after the workshop, maybe today or tomorrow? I'm very happy that the breathing exercise is very popular. It's often the most, go-to exercise to conduct as well. Focusing on time management, yes. I believe chunking it up is something that can help with that. Breathing exercises, yes. Thank you all so much for sharing. Journaling as well, yes. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to write those down in the chat or in your piece of paper as well, and we'd be happy to answer and help out as well. Definitely, prioritizing our own time is really important because although as educators we're taught that we're supposed to be there for every one of our students, it is important for us to just take care of ourselves as well. Wonderful. Thank you all so much for this. And we have more answers. Family gives us relief. Listen to music. Listening to music is a really good stress buster, in my opinion, as well. Thank you all so much for these responses. Just before we come to the concluding segment of this workshop, if we can just stop sharing our screen. Thank you so much. If everybody's comfortable, we'd love to see your feel good heart activity at work. And if you're okay with it, we'd love to take a screenshot of it as well. Please feel free to turn your cameras on, or if not, it's completely okay. Thank you so much. I love how symmetrical all the hearts are. It's just perfect. This is wonderful. Thank you all so much for sharing. We really, really appreciate it. This is great. That's not a problem. No worries at all. I believe we can see your camera though, I think, Miss Kramata. Yes. Yes, making our students do the breathing exercises of meditation also goes a long way because especially when they're younger, they require a little more regulation than adults. I myself have felt that. So that's great. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Do we have the screenshots team or should we just ask them to take it up once more? Perfect. Thank you all so much. Oh, we have a picture in the chat as well. That's wonderful. Yes, if it's not working, please feel free to share pictures over there as well. We'd love to feature it on our platforms as well. If you're comfortable with it, of course. No rush on that, no pressure. No worries at all if you're not able to turn the camera on. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, please feel free to share it. Wonderful. While we wait for everybody to respond as well, again, thank you all so much for being such lovely and active participants throughout this workshop. We're not ending it. Please wait. We'd like to introduce you to our self-help illustrated tabletop book, which we also call Hues of You. It basically wants to express our use as a team and our workplace well-being kit as well. This is part of our wellness action plan. And both of these resources have been handcrafted and lovingly by our team at Hues of the Mind, whom we call Team Sahara or Team Support in Hindi. And I'd like to take you all through these resources very briefly to help understand how these resources can help you and empower you to be a better version of yourself every single day. So I'll just share my screen. Great. Please let me know if it's visible. I'll try and put it in full screen. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So this is the cover of Hues of You, which is actually also a real life book that you can buy off Amazon, but we're providing an online version of this to you guys for free because of your amazing responses so far. And if you require the link to that, please let us know. We'll be happy to share that as well if you like a physical copy of this. And yes, the content in this book, although thoroughly researched, cannot be substituted or applied in lieu of professional view. We are not licensed mental health professionals, we're mental health advocates. It contains mentions of mental health disorders, self-harm, and suicidal intervention. Please take in mind this trigger warning and let us know if you not want to go through this. I won't be delving deeper into the contents of this to keep mind and our sensitivities in time in keep time and our sensitivities in mind. I'm sorry about that. And yes, we'll just start off with what the book looks like. So this is what the pages are, but when you get the normal book, it's divided into two pages like this. So the content page you see here is this is the first page and this is the second page. So that's one thing. It's just understanding. Let's just look through the content so it's easier. We talk about change, how we love ourselves, what happiness truly is. This is all written by from the perspective, personalized perspectives of our own team members who work as mental health advocates. This is not necessarily any professional advice. This is not at all that way, actually. And it's just personal opinions and a sharing space for our own members to share with the world. So we have a few sections over here. I'd like to show them as well. Views is basically self-explanatory. It's our views on various concepts related to mental well-being. There's also avenues, which is understanding specific parts of psychology or mental well-being and how this happens. This actually is also including some of our resources from our workshop, from our webinar. Then we also have hues, which is prose and poetry. We have two forms of hues actually. We have poetry over here, and we have at the top, which is a safe space where people share short stories of their own lives, either anonymously or as themselves. And the last section is a feel-good kit. This kit is basically a section to look into when you're feeling any of these emotions. If you are feeling stressed and anxious, for example, which is what our webinar is about, you can always look through this kit and you can understand. There are a few recommendations of TV shows, music, or activities to inculcate. And of course, since we're good students that way, we also have a bibliography at the end. Great. So this is just a brief introduction of anything that relates to this is again, we have poetry over here, we have briefs about the concept over here. It's a very interactive book in a sense. And it looks like this. It's very colorful. It just brings out so much. And we're, to be very frank, we're all very proud of this book. And I'll just take you all through the different aspects of this book. Again, when it comes to something seemingly negative, we use darker colors to portray our actual hues. So we've put a lot of our hearts into this book and talking about negative thoughts and the solution. So there's also that. There's positive thoughts is completely yellow. This is again very relevant to our hue of your mind activity because a lot of people said they feel sunshine, so it's yellow. So that's something. Achieving positive thinking. There's a little bit of pink and purple over here, a little bit of gray to mention the transition from negative to positive. So it's all very thoughtful in that sense. Smartphones on mental health, the positive effects. This is something maybe, educators can use to discuss, we can have discussions in our classrooms as well. And negative effects as well, of course, because if we hold a debate, we can just look at these points and grade our students accordingly. Then again, social media, positive effects and negative effects. Body image. So this is something a lot of students in our generation and our future generations, Generation Z and Alpha, usually face a lot, is that I don't feel comfortable in my body. The internet has made me feel like I hate my body. This is something a lot of students go through. So this would be something good to read out to your students or just discuss with them as well. And of course, these are all, some of them are personal excerpts. So please feel free to choose which parts you'd like to talk to your students about. It's all available to everybody, but students are a little sensitive of an audience. So we'd recommend looking through these before you read them out loud. Then there's also avenues, which is again the psychological aspect of this book, affirmations, and there's also a coping board, journaling that we did right now. There's also some strategies for coping with negative thoughts and feelings. With anxiety, grounding techniques. This is another wonderful technique that I love. The breathing technique that I talked about is one breathing technique. The other is the 4-square breathing technique, which is just 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds exhale. So that's just very uniform in that sense. But the 4-7-8 technique makes us hold our breath longer than we inhale. So that gives us a feeling of numbness in our ears. When we do this, we're just regulating our breathing. But with the 4-7-8 breathing method, it's helping us focus on our breathing more. So that's the distinction, I'd say. Then yes, this is something that I'd like to talk about. We also have some affirmations over here. These are a little generic, but please feel free to use your creative imagination to make this relevant to your situation or your setting as well. So all of this will be available to you in a PDF format on the Firki portal after this workshop. Great. Again, there's a lot of excerpts about social media, the internet, smartphones. Keeping ourselves motivated is something I believe we're all, something we're all coming back to. And there's prose and poetry. Some of these are very, very close to our hearts. We have, this is a page I wrote actually. And then there's a bunch of other prose and poetry, short stories, really short stories, something like that. And yes, there's also the safe space section actually, where we talk about something that we've never really talked about to very openly, but we finally had the courage to do so, given that our community was such a good space for fostering such conversations. If you feel like you want to share something with our community, please feel free to do so. Stuti, if you're on the call, could you please share the tiny URL link and we can just take that forward? Thank you. And yeah, just some really good excerpts from our wonderful team members. And of course, something that I've been wanting to show everybody, the feel good kit. So when we're feeling stressed and anxious, what to eat, what to listen to, what to read, what to do, what to watch, if you want to look into these. Some pro tips, just, a summary of what can be done for stress and anxiety, for fear, for loneliness, for sadness, for anger, and for confusion. All of these are available for all of you, the entire document. And of course, we promise this, we have a bibliography as well. If you want to look into some of these studies and delve deeper into the entire aspect. And this is the back cover of the book. Just the small summary is that it's a walk through the hues. The views are hues and the best avenues. Welcome to our minds, hearts, and thoughts. This book was created with one goal, to put it out there in the world and help people realize that speaking our minds can be freeing and it can help us all understand the true meanings of our thoughts and consequent actions. As fun as it was coming up with these, no worries. As fun as it was coming up with these articles and poems, it helped all of us, the Hues of the Mind family, let go, opening up to our colors and celebrating happiness as we get it. We hope this book helps you too and impacts your life in some way. Happy reading. We really hope you like this book. And yes, that's about the book that we have prepared for you. And another aspect is the workplace well-being kit. Are you also able to see this? Because I shared the whole window. Perfect. So there are three sections so far. We're also working on a fourth section for all of you. So we'll release that very soon. So the first is finding our own happiness. The contents include what our happy hormones are and how to increase their impact on our lives to make our lives well happier, basically. So ways to embrace the expressive arts in our lives very seamlessly, explaining what expressive arts is, how we can use that for ourselves and for our students as well, and affirmations to glance over to start your day happy. If we just look through this particular page, again, this is just an overview of which hormones and what they do for us. They are all known as endorphins. This is what they do. Embracing expressive arts. We have some links and QR codes. You can just click on the link or you can scan the QR code and you'll be able to access this. And there's a bunch of resources over here. Again, we also have affirmations in this kit if you'd like to look through these. These might seem a little generic, but even just saying these to ourselves in our own safe space where we don't feel judged in any manner, even if it's just in front of the mirror or towards a friend, is fine. And especially when we're talking to a friend, for example, uh, the second one, the choice is always mine. Say it to yourself in front of your friend. Don't tell them that the choice is always yours. It's for yourself, but you're just telling them. That's the point of talking to a close one about these things. Then, if at any point during this you wish to look at more resources, every page has this hyperlink down here, which leads to our Use of the Mind Foundation's website. You can always reach out to us over there. We're available through through our website, emails, and through Instagram as well. We're also available on LinkedIn, so you can do that. This is the link. Then the second aspect is called the calm amidst the storm. Understanding what a gratitude jar is, if there are any self-care routines. Yes, we also have a lot of worksheets in this for you to print out for your students if you feel like, or for yourself as well, if you feel like this can help in any manner. So we'll just go through that as well. The gratitude jar, understanding what it is and how we can promote something like this for ourselves, for our families and our students, anything of that sort. My self-care routine, again, a printable worksheet. You can just print this particular page out and you can circulate this among yourself, your family, your friends, or your students as well. There's a bunch more worksheets. Weekly mood tracker. If you wish to regulate your emotions and keep track of what's really happening, this is available. And self-guided meditations, routines, all of this is available. And we also have some links over here. Anxiety worksheet. This is very relevant to our workshop, actually. So, what happened, how I reacted, how bad was it really? What do you think? What I think I felt, and how I'd like to react next time. So it's all available. It's all for you all. And if you're a foodie, you're a movie lover, or if you're both, there are some recipes and watching lists. Just some, refreshers for our minds and souls. And the third aspect is men and mental health. This is something a lot of people refrain from talking about, especially in the mainstream society. Should I continue?
Yes.
Okay, no worries. This is something a lot of us never speak up about, is that men are not expected to talk up about how they really feel. They're always shunned down as ladki hai kya or something like that. It's really offensive towards men as well. So that's something we're trying to debunk with this particular section, is facing daily challenges, journaling. Just here are some prompts for journaling as well. And instead of saying this, say this, just something to inculcate. I highly recommend printing this out and keeping it in your household somewhere so everybody can be a little more mindful about these things. Becoming allies and supporters. It's active listening, validating feelings, respecting peace, avoiding stereotypes, and sustained support. So, community actions, we have a lot of resources over here. Emotional vulnerability is something we should all inculcate as a community. This is a very good resource. It's called We're Not Really Strangers. It's basically a card game. It can be bought online. It looks like this. I'm not sure if you can see, but it looks like this. It's a card game, and it helps us ask questions that talk about how we're really feeling and how it actually is to be ourselves. Then there are some self-care tips. Again, some recipes to try, something about mindfulness and relaxation, how to focus on the present moment. And of course, there are some therapy options to understand what forms of therapy are available and how to access that. Men's groups run finding the right group. All of this is available. And we'd like to share a fourth section of this as well. I can briefly share this. Just one second. I think we have most of it ready. I'll just share this. So sorry about this. Yes, so this is basically what we're looking into, and we hope this is something really nice. I'm just looking at the chat box now, and this is wonderful. Thank you all so much. Yes, we also have the link to the book. Please let us know if you want it again. We can reshare it. And our website and email, our Instagram, all of them are available. Perfect. Thank you all so much. I think that's pretty much what we had prepared. If anybody has anything to say and express, please feel free to do so. We're happy to listen. Yes, all of this will be available on the Firki portal. Thank you so much. Yes, sure. We'll reshare the links. So, can you please help with that? Thank you all so much. If there's anything you'd like to ask or discuss, please feel free to do so. This is a safe space.
Yeah, so if any one of you have any questions that you would like to be answered by Rishita, she's here. You can ask all the questions if you want. You can even post it on chat box, or you can feel free to unmute yourself, come forward and ask. It's a safe space. You can ask. We'll wait for 2-3 minutes for that to happen, and then we'll move forward. We'll wait for 1 more minute. If anyone have any question regarding anything, you can ask to.
Thank you all very much. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I guess it was a really good session, Rishita. People are contented with the practices and everything that you have shared, and hence they don't have any questions. I will
Wonderful.
take this opportunity to thank you, both Stuti and Rishita, for taking out time and facilitating the session today. um you started off the session with the breathing exercise, the meditation thing, and then we did the feel hard good activity. I really enjoyed it, and how all your resources are both connected to students, also to the educators,